Welcome everyone to January 30th. June 30th. I'm going back 6 months. Java operators meeting. I hope everyone is having a good week so far. Let me share the agenda. Get rid of that. Okie dokie. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Are there any new faces that would like to introduce themselves? First time here.
Yeah, actually, I'm first time here.
Oh, hello.
Hello. Hi, my name is Marcus. I this morning or yesterday, I don't know, I raised some question regards multi-cluster usage for the operator SDK. My general context is cloud operations and for Keycloak in my enterprise.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm quite familiar with the Keycloak project. I'm quite familiar with Kubernetes and CNCF products. And we already have some operator stuff running based on Go, but we are more like an enterprise which is settled on Java. So we currently try to migrate to Java with some stuff. And that's why we approached the SDK, and yeah, we noticed that it's just not possible to have multiple contexts, to have a single point of control over multiple clusters. Yeah, that's actually why I'm here.
Jesus, I just discussed, I think, Marcus on GitHub discussions that if he will join us, there is an issue now he created for multi-cluster support. Maybe we could at least briefly touch on this if there is no objections. Not saying necessary at this very moment, but yeah.
Yeah, we can talk about that when we get down to that. Well, welcome, Marcus, and great to see you or hear from you as we're all listening.
Yeah, it does not work I have to use my phone and somehow the camera is not.
No, that's fine. I don't think anyone else has their camera on this morning, so or evening, depending on where you are. Let's see. Any announcements or community interests that folks wanted to bring up?
Maybe just that I'm currently working on the conversion webhook support in the other framework, what we call now the admission controller framework. So today I was working that. If somebody is interested more into that or testing, eventually it will be a PR very soon. And yeah, it will be supported. Currently there are some requests coming for that project also. So probably we will rename it to, I don't know, Kubernetes webhooks or something framework, because it's not just admission controllers. So yeah, just
is it a different project?
Yes, it's under the same organization. If you open Java Operator SDK organization, then there is a admission controller framework. Yeah, and on the list there is a top. Yeah. It's just in the early phases, but it's already used by the Flink operator team. They just, I think, grabbed the code because they're not allowed to commit and wanted to make some changes. But I'm in contact with them, and yeah.
Awesome.
There is progress.
That's cool. Anything else? All righty. Let me go ahead into the triage, and this will allow us to talk about some of the issues. On the plugin side, it looks like 17 days ago. Yes, I had opened this one up. We had added support for Make Bundle to integrate with OLM, but it doesn't prompt you the same way as the Go and Ansible and Helm plugins do. And part of that is this prompting is coming from, I believe it's the Customize or the Manifest plugin, which I think it's the Manifest plugin, which uses Customize or requires Customize. And in this Java plugin, we're not using Customize. So we'd have to abstract that code to make it more generic. So right now that is a slight differentiation between the two, but wanted to capture it anyway. I think Lucky is assigned to it for the future, but okay, that was the only plugin issue. Now the context that Marcus was talking about, I mean the issue. Which one is that? Is that this first one or a different one?
Yes, first one.
Yep.
Okay. Switch context for specific reconcile and admin.
So should I spend some words about it, or
yeah, if you have a TLDR on it, that would be great.
Yeah, TLDR is very short. Currently, you can configure from a perspective of the API usage. You can annotate at the controller that you want to have a specific namespace to be used for the reconciler, right? And so that the objects are only watched in some specific namespace or a series of namespaces.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, what I will need is to also annotate the context which is used. So let's say you have two clusters, and you want to have a reconciler to watch one cluster and one to watch another, or one to watch both. That would need to have a actual list of contexts, or just a specific one. I don't know right now. I have no idea about the implementation details, to be honest. Probably it's more would be more reasonable to have just one context at max, but for one controller. But yeah, so that you actually can point it to different clusters. Because what we actually do, and we do it already right now, is we have a control cluster, and the control cluster manages resources in multiple clusters. Like you could compare it, if you know, to the container RP, the cluster RP, which exists in the CNCF project, where you can orchestrate clusters through CRDs within one control cluster and manage other clusters out of CRDs. And actually, it's kind of that, right? We have our meter CRDs in some control cluster, and then we have multiple clusters for reasons. In this case, it's mostly availability. And then we spread the workload by the operator. And therefore, we have the need to watch custom resource definitions or standard resources in Kubernetes in different clusters. That's basically it.
Okay. This.
Okay.
Before you go, what I was just going to say was this sounds. Is this related to this KCP effort that I've seen going around upstream, where they're trying to do multiple clusters and or not? It sounds related, but very similar.
KCP?
At least. Yes.
KCP. I actually know the project, and from a, let's say, mental perspective, from an architecture perspective, it is related, because what they do there is also kind of the same. They span Kubernetes API over multiple clusters, right?
Yep.
And actually, it addresses kind of the same issue. But I don't think you can solve the problem with KCP. I don't know if you would be able to.
The reason I brought that up is because I know that there are folks from the SDK team working on controller runtime changes, and one of the changes has been contexts, or I guess they call them workspaces, but it's like a change in the URL for the API. It may not be exactly the same thing, but it sounded similar enough that I thought maybe it might be worth looking at something that's there to be able to figure out what the solution
Yeah,
would be on our
if
end.
you can point me to it in the ticket or something, I will definitely take a look.
Okay, I can do that.
But right now I do not have enough context to see how close the relation is.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
So basically, KCP is an aggregate API, no, for the Kubernetes clusters, the multiple clusters.
It is for multi-tenancy. So actually, you have a control plane over the control plane, and you can just say what resources can be managed from a tenant context. And I think it works also above multiple clusters, not only for a single one. But actually, I did not try it out. It's very, very raw right now, I think.
Yes, it
early,
is.
Early development.
Okay, I don't know if controller runtime supports this. So you mentioned that you're writing Go operators now. I checked briefly, there were some mentions about this in controller runtime issues. And but there is the object key, which is very similar than in Java operator SDK, the resource ID, which kind of identifies resource, and there is no such information about the cluster. So I guess controller runtime doesn't support this directly, also to have a multiple. Basically, from our perspective in Java operator SDK, this is basically creating multiple clients to multiple APIs, processing events, but also adding this context information that this event and this resource comes from the which cluster, because we have this API for updating resources and stuff with the update control, if you saw it. So actually and there is a central kind of a concept just that either identifies a resource, it's called resource ID, the same is in the controller runtime called object key, and neither this or that doesn't contain any cluster information. So what I was saying on the chat, that this will kind of give us some additional complexity in the implementation. We're working with the events and some others too. Actually, I don't think it's a huge deal. So at the end, but we will need to make a prototype to see if we are not hitting some unknown, what we can see just upfront.
But not done by simply having a different client, because you have also to adapt the root back. I understand. Yeah. Okay.
Root back? Why?
Yeah, it's the bind so that the events are matched with the correct controller, and you don't have the metadata right now.
Okay. Yeah, that's actually not a problem, because we have the informers inside. It's always matched with the controller, so you don't share now informers between controllers. Even that would be possible in some cases if you have multiple controllers. We are not supporting that for now, but that's a completely different problem. We already thought about it, and it's probably not going to happen very soon. So it's actually just creating multiple Kubernetes clients in the background, or basically provided for the operator, and some controllers just can address, okay, I want to watch these MCSVs, but within these, using these multiple clients, not just one. So it's kind of this is basically stick to the ground explanation. The question is that timeline-wise, we have quite a work for the next couple of weeks at least. I think, and conferences. I personally, so not sure how urgent is this, or what is or if you are able to contribute or work on this on the SDK itself, creating a prototype.
Yeah, I would be willing to contribute. I mean, we also contribute to Keycloak in a reasonable manner. But right now, I'm not familiar with the code base so far, so I would have to do some more deep dive. I already spotted the places where the clients are mixed with the reconcilers and the controllers, where this is initiated, and I thought at least I found some places where this could be easily added, but the complexity of so that there are some decisions like the complexity of having multiple contexts or only one per controller and stuff. Yeah, but if you would say you could support, for example, by pointing out what you think would be the places to be changed or something, that would be cool, because honestly, I would need a lot of time to get there.
Yeah.
But I would be willing to do some stuff here.
I'm definitely happy to give you a tour and explain everything, how it works internally. And yeah, actually it's not that complicated, and there are some complex stuff, but that shouldn't be will be not touched, I think, with this issue. So yeah, so we can go through sometime. And yeah, if you contact us or join us to our Discord channel, you can just do a private messaging for me, or yeah, and we can also have a call there.
Okay, yeah. Sounds reasonable. Okay, then that's for that, right?
Just one more question. So just to make sure I understand correctly, that so here the clusters are either we are watching the whole cluster or the same namespaces in every cluster. So it cannot happen that I want to watch namespace A and in cluster A and namespace B in cluster B. So basically the configuration is always like, I want to watch namespaces and I want to watch the same namespaces on every cluster that is listed.
So that's actually our use case. So if you have some reconciler, it always will expect the same namespace and the same at different contexts for a specific CRD. So you have one CRD and it relates to the same namespace in different clusters to the same objects, right? So that's basically quite easy, or quite simplistic structure there.
Yeah, because so in other case, just having a combination of these and all kind of variations would quite a bit complicate. So in the first round, if it's sufficient and good enough, I would stick with basically with your use case. So yeah, maybe we have to think then how to generalize it in the future if more people are coming, or if it's even possible.
And actually, I think if you have this, if you want to do this, you still I think have the choice to just have some logic in your implementation to not do it in one case and not do it in the other, and then just have reconcilers which listen to both and decide on your own in your code. I think you can get around this if you would like to do this with some little code. I think it would still work, but I agree that for other use cases than mine, that there would be more considerations to take into place. Yeah.
And there are informers, some additional informers, which are watching the actual cluster, so the control cluster, or other than the CRD informer. So other than the one that is watching the CRD, the main custom resources, are there other informers which are watching other resources on the control cluster, or just the ones
not
which are...
in our scenario, but I don't see how this could be a problem, right?
Yep, so just because we have this API for the informers, which is, then we have to cover that, okay, if you register an additional informer, that should follow the configuration of the controller, or just you should watch the actual cluster and stuff. So all kind of these variations and combinations regarding But no, it's not a problem, just more like interesting in your use case. So, yeah.
Yeah, but so the use case is really like we have the CRDs in the control clusters. The CRDs are deployed through GitOps, and then the operator picks them up and manages the states of them and creates standard resources in the other clusters. And yeah, that's basically it.
Okay, makes sense. Okay, thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Yeah, thank you very much that you were so kind to just give me a chance to talk about it, and even that you offered help is quite more than I expected.
Hey, no problem. Welcome.
Oh, this is great. I did add a link. I saw some mention in the Go controller runtime where they were asking specifically about multi-cluster support. I'm not sure if it's implemented, but it looks like there was an issue and at least for a design. So if we wanted something else to reference or another data point.
Thank you.
Awesome. No, that's a cool issue.
Yeah, thank you very much. So unfortunately, I have to leave, but I wish you all a nice meeting.
Oh, thank you.
A nice day.
Have a good
Thank
one.
you.
Thanks for stopping by. What's FR?
I don't know.
Oh, first thing I thought was French, but it wasn't opened by Christoph, so I was like, okay, well, maybe feature request or something.
Yeah, it is a event recorder, which is I think now in Go client. Before it was in I think in Contra runtime, and the issue is created here. But I was basically CC'd guys from Fabricate client because it makes sense to put it also on our side to the client.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see.
Oh, Christoph is trying to bring it back in.
Yeah, there were some issues with the client versions, which are now widespread. There are multiple versions of the extension of the Kubernetes client for Quarkus. Yeah, the client version in Java Operator SDK and client version in the Quarkus extension for Java Operator SDK. And I think that was actually my main source of issue. So
Yeah,
maybe Chris can next time talk more about it.
yeah, that's fine. Is he on holiday?
Yes, today is on PT.
Okay. Just updating clients or something.
So yeah, it's just upgrading to new client, but we have issues with it, so we'll.
So how often, like, do you guys have to do bumps for like Kate's versions? So, like, for
No.
instance, we for 124, we basically had to go through and update all the dependencies to 124 in controller runtime, and then all the way down the chain, and then all the way into SDK. Do you guys do those type of updates often, or?
We just rely on the Fabricate client, so
Okay.
we just change the one version basically in the reference where we are referencing this client, and that's it.
Okay.
In Java. So yeah, this V6. Then they are having some patch releases, which I guess, as far as I know, which are basically updates to new versions of Kubernetes, supports new version of Kubernetes. So everything is done on the Fabricate client side regarding to this, and it's super easy. Usually, even we have just a reminder issues. Actually, it's something very strange happening with the V6, but it's probably some with some annotation processor. We will fix it, and we'll move probably soon to V6. Which is just for now RC1, so it's the whole issue just to give feedback about if there are we see any issues or something with the informers which are improved in V6 or stuff like that.
Okay, no, that makes sense. No, it was just curious because when I saw Fabricate, and I was like, oh yeah, we just went through a whole bunch of changes, and I wasn't aware what the changes would look like. But it sounds like it happens through just by virtue of updating Fabricate, you get Kates. So
Yes.
if you want the newer version of Kates, you need a newer version of Fabricate. Okay, makes sense. That's cool. Is there anything in here specific that we need to address?
No, no, I think no. Yeah,
You guys
there
are
is-
usually on top of things, so.
Yeah, it's we are currently there are lots of pull requests now open. We are mostly reviewing those, making changes on those. Some features like rate limiting, some unified filter APIs, and then we are going to release probably v 3.1.
Okay.
And that's it.
We were talking about for the operator framework chairs. There is a governance change that will make it easy to bring in new projects. Basically, the governance that there is a CNCF federated project governance, and by having that, you could effectively create multiple projects under a single org and have them be brought in, and the governance is kind of already set up for that type of model. The one that we currently have in operator framework is not that. So we were talking with Josh Burkus and some of the other CNCF folks about this, and their advice was if you change to a federated model governance, it makes it easy for adopting new things to come in. So that is happening on our end. So I don't know what all the rules are in terms of, okay, what changes you would want in the project, or anything that we bring in, what has to happen yet. None of that is addressed, but we are still talking about this. So in case you guys are still interested in CNCF type of membership.
Yes, definitely. We are, I think, definitely interested. So yeah, let's talk about it, how it goes. And yeah,
I'll keep you guys updated. I mean, even if this group decides to do something different, it doesn't matter. We still have to do the federated thing for OLM and SDK anyway. So it's not like it would. You wouldn't be hurting our feelings. So, but we are trying to accommodate so that it makes it an easier transition when that time comes. So.
Okay, great, good to hear. Thank you.
I don't have anything else. So if we don't have anything else to talk about, we could just end it here.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. I had one quick thing I wanted to bring up.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask if there was any community interest in advancing the Java kind of custom test image for scorecards so that devs can write tests in Java that can run in scorecard. It's not something that I've personally had bandwidth to look at, but it's something I figured if there's interest within the community, I'd be happy to like mentor and help out with that.
I never heard anything. I don't know personally scorecard, so we'll have to take a look also what it provides and whatnot. But because we have also a kind of support for testing to some extent, and that we'll at least I will take a look on the scorecard. We'll write it down and what capabilities it has compared to our basic support. I guess much more.
Yeah.
Well,
we can currently run scorecard with the Java stuff. It's more of if we want to support writing tests in Java, we'd have to kind of build out some custom image stuff. Sorry, Jesus, I cut you off.
No, I was just going to give Attila the 10,000 foot thing about scorecard. So basically, there's a bunch of different types of tests. We have folks can do like Go unit tests on just their normal operator running Go test or Ginkgo. Scorecard kind of adds more of a functional test, so it will actually your operator is deployed and scorecard will run tests against it in a deployed cluster, and then scorecard has images or test images that it's running. And there's a config inside a bundle that can say, hey, I need you to do some validation. I need you to do these two like integration tests as well. And right now, those tests, the image has a, lack of a better word, of an API. It basically has an entry point and an output format, and then you can run your test, your custom tests and that. I believe Brett did one in Java and played around with that. There's just not a lot of infrastructure. He had to put a lot of stuff in it. But it's just another venue, because I know that folks that are creating operators that go through the Red Hat pipeline can benefit from these scorecard tests. So it's available. But it doesn't necessarily replace like normal developer unit testing or other integration tests. It's just another level that you can add on top of things.
Yeah, but actually that makes sense, because we have these end-to-end tests, but it's not so nice. So adding a new end-to-end test, there is not really a framework-ish support for that. It's just really making the GitHub action workflow that sets up Minikube, runs the operator, builds the operator, runs it deploys it in the cluster, and creates some custom resources. And it's a little bit kind of a hackish now. We have just few these end-to-end tests. So this sounds like an alternative, like as you said, functional end-to-end testing to get it more structured. So
hey, Ish, don't you have a video that you did a while ago?
Yes, I was about to say I can share a link to we put together like a little demo and overview video for KubeCon. I'd be happy to share that video link.
Yeah, I would share that. That way, it'd help Attila kind of understand what it is. But and again, it's not like if you choose to support scorecard, it doesn't mean you disallow the other ways, and you're not forcing folks. You're just kind of giving them that extra option. So.
Yeah, makes sense. I will take a look, and we can then put it at least somewhere in docs, or create some sample in the repository or something like that.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks, Ish.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
All right. Well, that was all we had today. So I'll give you back several minutes. So have a good rest of your afternoon.
Yeah. Thank you. See you guys next time.
Yep.
Bye-bye.